Hello everyone, and let's make a market update here again. And let's have a look what happened over the past week here, and maybe especially over the last 24 hours. We can see that we have a few blockchain projects moving higher here. Hedge trade, I have no idea what that is. KuCoin shares, this is if I remember correctly, this is an exchange. Metaverse, also one that most people are familiar with. VeChain, this is a supply chain coin or project. And let's see here in the top. Yeah, otherwise there's not that much, at least that I recognize. And so we can see that there's been also some kind of a correction here, I think, over the last few days, which is also good to see that things do come down and maybe poses a nice buying opportunity again. And if we look at the Bitcoin here, we can see on the 4-hour we just came back down here towards the middle lines, and which is usually some kind of a buy area, but you never know, it can always go through. If this starts to kind of bend downwards, we can see lower levels again here, and maybe make a bigger retracement before another move comes along. What else do we have here? I haven't looked at this for about a week now. Bitcoin Cash, yeah, they all go hand in hand, of course. VeChain, did we have a buy signal? Well, we had a buy signal about on, when was that? That was on the 14th of May. There was a buy, but it quickly came into the sell zone after that. So that's nice to see whenever they work out these things. It's always kind of interesting. Ethos is not doing much. It's hanging around these 11 cents, 13 cents levels, and they're supposed to bring out this payment thing, but I assume that Utrust is maybe beating them a bit in this game, and that's something we should also talk about. Utrust seems to be stepping up their game now, finally, after about a year or so. And I mean, they have a fantastic product. I really like that project. It has the potential to be kind of the next let's call it PayPal within crypto and fiat currencies, and you know, the whole shebang basically. So and it's, I mean, the valuation is 35 million now, which is nothing. I mean, if this is the next PayPal or something similar, or if their product can be used in an efficient way with merchants for all kinds of coins and regular currencies as well, I mean, this is going to be fantastic to follow. And of course, this market cap will then shoot up to about $1 billion and more, at least 350 million, if you would say that. 10x from here, that would be 7-8 cents up to 80 cents. That seems like it's very doable. I mean, it's already been above $1 at some point. So keep an eye on this project. This is one of my top I don't know, top 5 projects probably, and so we'll see how that develops going forward. But and here was an article: Bitcoin falls below 8,000 for the first time in over a week. Coinbase sell-off. Yeah, these are just normal kind of sell-offs. I mean, it's nothing. There's always because some kind of a reason. We never know why, and so I guess it doesn't really say that much. But let's instead go over maybe a few uses of blockchain, if in case people have forgotten. This might take a few minutes, so I think I'll finish off with this so we don't drag along for too long here. Cryptocurrency, what is that? It's a digital or virtual currency that uses cryptography for security Cryptocurrency is difficult to counterfeit, which is one of the advantages, of course, because of this security feature. Many cryptocurrencies are decentralized systems based on blockchain technology, a distributed ledger enforced by a network of computers. One of the biggest advantages is its organic nature. It is not issued by any central authority, rendering it theoretically immune to government interference or manipulation. So, of course, this goes against the way the society is kind of built up now, where everything is controlled by central authorities, which puts the power away from the people and into the hands of only a few. And you know, if you continue to look here, benefits and drawbacks of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrencies hold the promise of making it easier to transfer funds directly between two parties in a transaction without the need for a trusted third party such as bank or credit card company. These transfers are facilitated through the use of public keys and private keys for security purposes. And you know, fund transfers are done with minimal processing fees, allowing users to avoid the steep fees charged by most banks and financial institutions for wire transfers. So it's for the customer, this would be great. For the institutions, maybe they will earn a bit less in some transaction fees, whereas they can maybe make that up in other areas. And if we just keep on going here, no, was that everything? There was another one I was looking at here. Where did that one go? Blockchain explained. Ah, here we go. Blockchain versus Bitcoin. So let's have a look and just how it works, kind of thing. So let's see what they say here. You have all these people all over the world who have Bitcoin, according to a 2017 study. Number may be as many as 5.9 million. Let's say one of those 6 million people wants to spend their Bitcoin on groceries, and actually this is where Utrust would come in. If your local grocery store would have Utrust, you know, you could go, if you had Bitcoin or any other coin or just not normal fiat money, you could just go there and pay for your groceries with this as well, as a form of payment system. And so this is where blockchain comes in. When it comes to printed money, the use of printed currency is regulated and verified by a central authority, usually a bank or government, but Bitcoin is not controlled by anyone. Instead, transactions made in Bitcoin are verified by a network of computers. So yeah, it sounds a bit scary on one side as well, that it's being verified by computers. I mean, it reminds me of the Terminator almost, Skynet, but you know, let's not get carried away here. And talks about these 51% attacks that you know, hackers and so on, which is of course always kind of a problem when you're dealing with computers and such things, systems. There are of course ways to protect yourself and to protect the system in different ways. But of course there's always a chance. You can't take that chance away 100%. Banks, perhaps no industry, stands to benefit from integrating blockchain into its business operations more than banking. Financial institutions only operate during business hours, 5 days a week. That means if you try to deposit a check on Friday at 6 p.m., you likely will have to wait until Monday morning to see that money hit your account. You know, it can take 1 to 3 days to verify due to volume of transactions that banks need to settle. Blockchain, on the other hand, never sleeps. By integrating blockchain into banks, consumers can see their transactions processed in as little as 10 minutes. Basically, the time it takes to add a block to the blockchain, regardless of the time or day of the week. So, you know, that's an advantage, of course, that you can just verify everything within minutes. I mean, usually within half an hour to 1 hour, you can follow all of your transactions, and it's in the right place and so on. Blockchain forms the bedrock for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, as they apparently spoke about this earlier. Currencies like the US dollar are regulated and verified by a central authority, usually a bank or government. Under the central authority system, users' data and currency are technically at the whim of their bank or government. So it's again, you know, we're talking centralized or more power to the people kind of thing. You know, you also have this healthcare providers can leverage a blockchain to securely store their patients' medical records. When a medical record is generated and signed, it can be written into the blockchain. So maybe this is a way to not, if data is somehow stolen or something, it can be a way to protect patients within the healthcare industry for you know, that their records don't get stolen or something, or it's shown what kind of sickness they have or something like this. But of course, if someone else has your private key, like a doctor or something like this, it's still possible that you know, your record can of course come out if the doctor has access to your private key. But maybe there's a way around that as well. Property records. If you have ever spent time in your local recorder's office, you will know that the process of recording property rights is both burdensome and inefficient. And today, a physical deed must be delivered to a government employee at the local recording office, where it's manually entered into the country's central database and public index. And it's also riddled with human error, of course. I mean, these documents, they can be as thick as a book in some countries. Blockchain has the potential to eliminate the need for scanning documents, tracking down physical files in a local recording office, so it's easier to keep track of. If property ownership is stored and verified on the blockchain, owners can trust that their deed is accurate and permanent. So maybe it has some uses here, also in healthcare, property, smart contracts. What is that? It's a computer code that can be built into the blockchain to facilitate, verify, or negotiate a contract agreement. So say, for example, this is a good example here. I'm renting you my apartment using a smart contract, and I agree to give you the door code to the apartment as soon as you pay me your security deposit. Both of us would send our portion of the deal to the smart contract, which would hold on to and automatically exchange my door code for your security deposit on the date of the rental. And if I don't supply the door code by the rental date, the smart contract refunds your security deposit. This eliminates the fees that typically accompany using a notary or third-party mediator. You know, I guess that's what we're talking about. Just an example of how this can be used or seen. Supply chains we have spoken about before many times. I mean, we have one of the most famous ones is VeChain, but there are different ones as well. Suppliers can use blockchain to record the origins of materials that they have purchased. This would allow companies to verify the authenticity of their products, along with health and ethics labels like organic, local, and fair trade. So it's mostly for the consumers as well to see where the products came from and so on. Maybe this is interesting. Voting, of course, with different scandals manipulations of computer system, which is getting to be so easily done now these days to fool the public. Maybe this is a way to get around it somehow. Voting with blockchain carries the potential to eliminate election fraud and boost voter turnout, as was tested in the November 2018 midterm elections in West Virginia. Each vote would be stored as a block on the blockchain, making them nearly impossible to tamper with. I wonder how quickly that would be to actually set up a voting process like this, or if it's going to be complicated with a bunch of private keys, people doing the wrong thing, I don't know. Reducing the personnel needed to conduct an election and provide officials with instant results. That's of course an advantage. Yeah, maybe it's not so. That will have to be thought about this. But this is an interesting area, of course, voting. I mean, if you can just vote and then you basically get the results right away because it's instantaneous. Advantages of blockchain: for all its complexity, blockchain's potential as a decentralized form of record keeping is almost without limit. And accuracy: transactions on the blockchain network are approved by a network of thousands or millions of computers. This removes almost all human involvement in the verification process. There's of course an advantage of accuracy. On the other hand, this removes almost all human involvement. You're basically giving the computer world all the say to some extent. That can be a bit scary. Cost: typically consumers pay a bank to verify transactions, a notary to sign a document, or a minister to perform a marriage. Blockchain eliminates the need for third-party verification. And with it there are associated costs. So that's good. Decentralization, I think we spoke about that. That's what it's all about as well. Efficiency: transactions placed through a central authority can take up to a few days to settle. If you attempt to deposit a check on Friday evening, for example, you may not actually see funds into your account until Monday morning. This is the banking situation. I think some banks, if that's correct, are using Ripple now to some extent, at least to test it out. Privacy: it should be more private if that's what you're looking for. Security to some extent as well. But let's look at maybe some disadvantages, like we have mentioned as well before. While there are significant upsides to the blockchain, there are also significant challenges to its adoption. The roadblocks to the application of blockchain technology today are not just technical. The real challenges are political and regulatory. Well, of course, political and regulatory. If it's all centralized now, controlled by a very few group of people, then the problem is going to be political and regulatory for the most part. To say nothing of the thousands of hours of custom software design and back-end programming required to integrate blockchain to current business networks. I mean, it's possible just to start somewhere where the advantages of blockchain should be obvious, and start there and then see where it develops instead of doing it at once all over the place. And some of the challenges, let's see: cost, inefficiency. They're talking a bit about proof of work here. It's costly, but not everything is done with proof of work. It's Bitcoin and some others. I don't know how relevant that is always. But what you're saying here: inefficiency, again, proof of work takes 10 minutes. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that. That's just privacy. While confidentiality on the blockchain network protects users from hacks and preserves privacy, it also allows for illegal trading and activity on the blockchain. Well, this is of course done as well with regular money or whatever. So it doesn't. This is almost irrelevant. The most cited example of blockchain being used for illicit transactions is probably Silk Road. Okay. An online dark web marketplace operating from February 11 to 13, but was shut down by the FBI. I guess they were selling some drugs and some other things, illegal things, which I guess these people would have bought anyways somewhere else. So it's just, I guess it can be used for bad things like anything. Security. Several central banks, including Fed, Bank of Canada, Bank of England, have launched investigations into digital currencies. I guess they want to check it out. Some of the banks here, some of these federal banks, central banks, they're thinking about launching their own kind of digital currency. Of course they wanna check it out to see if there's any uses. And we'll just finish off here with what's next for blockchain. Let's see if they have something to say here. As we prepare to head into the third decade of blockchain, it's no longer a question of if legacy companies will catch on to the technology. It's a question of when. So, and I think we've seen already there are some companies starting to get into this a bit more. So it's a lot to learn, but it would be fun to to be part of some of these projects and see where it might lead, and to see the advantages, see if it can bring value to some areas, and we'll have to study some more, come up with some business plans, and that's it, guys. Take care.